Blood Bilge and Iron Balls is the rule set we're using for a blockade running scenario. We are right up here by Port St. Louis, which is right over here, just underneath the N in the word Venus. The Ceylon and the Venus are setting sail on December 29th, 1809, and they're hoping to catch up to, what's the same day actually, that the Creole and the Mariade and two transports and a couple of smaller ships, a couple of transport ships, cargo ships, are trying to make their way back to the British base over here at Rodrigues. If these two ships, if one of these ships can get out, they may be able to race downwind. And I don't know if they're going to come up around this way or down around this way. But whichever one can break free is going to try to intercept, take out one or two of these ships, maybe take out the transport. Could be a real game changer here in the islands of Mauritius. The head of the island, the governor of the island, has committed suicide out of shame for his behavior in letting the British run away with everything. And our table is going to be very simple. There's the British. There's the French. We've got two ships. The nearer ship is going to be the Venus. The further ship will be the Ceylon. And they want to escape, far off that way or far off this edge of the table. And that means sailing, a mile, half mile offshore and then breaking for it. And if the British vessel up there, that is the Sirius. It has been on station for a good long time. He has been charged with sealing up this port. I don't know if it's like a shore port hiding behind some reefs, or if it's got like a protected harbor with walls and whatnot. This is representative, right? This is what we do. The ships aren't really that big compared. Well, actually, these ships are kind of to scale. I got these from tumblingdice.co.uk. They're 2,400 ships. So I think they're actually in pretty good scale with the ocean here. But the point is, we're doing a semi-narrative campaign. We have a map and we have boats that we've been shoving around the map, and we're not really doing a narrative campaign except for the fact that we're just kind of figuring out where those likely battles may occur and if not. And by the way, I've added a second track to this. We'll talk about that next week when we have a little better idea what's happening in January. But we can't get to January without getting through this 29th blockade run. I'm not going to go through a full introduction. Suffice it to say, Blood Bilge and Iron Balls uses a ship's manifest that looks a little something like this. So here's the Ceylon. Here, and I even colored it so I can remember which ones were the French and which are the British. So here's the Venus, and here's the HMS Sirius. Sirius in hot pursuit. And as you take damage, you cross off these ship's capabilities. You could lose cannons and then you're less. Now it says 38 gun frigate. These are all either 40 or 38 gun frigates. So I'm just going to leave it as is. It's close enough. As I said again, near enough for government work. And then the ship's crew here, they each have these three little diamonds. And if you have one of these, for each one of these, you have a, what do they call it? The repair detail, the ship's engineers and whatnot. I'm just, I just want to play the game. The next thing we have to do here is the ships are going to start exactly where you see them. The two French there, the British there. And then in this particular game, you have to worry about the wind direction. Now, I've tilted the table a little bit. East-southeast is in that direction. It's due left as you look at the table. And that is perfect for the French trying to get out of the harbor. The British have been kind of upwind, if you will. And they understand that preparations have been made. They'll come into the edge of where the shore batteries are. And one thing I should point out, the British dare not get to within 12 inches of the shore batteries, or they're going to take like a dozen shots. So they're really limited to this point. And then it's may become a running battle. If one of the ships gets away and the Sirius decides to pursue the other one, they may be able to take him. And that other ship may decide it's going to try to circle back around and get back into harbor, having sprung its friend loose. So I don't exactly know how this is going to happen, but I think it's going to be really interesting. Wind left to right. This is how we determine who goes what, when, and where. So we're going to line these up just 6 across, and you flip these over, and the red is going to be for the British, and the blue will be for the French. Now, nobody has any damage, so some of these won't matter. So red means the British get to sail. There's also repairs and shooting. And so those will happen kind of when they happen. But for now, the British get to move first. Also, my table scale is cut in half on our ship's record. The Sirius, if he is at half sail, he can move 7 inches per turn. Because he's sailing into the wind, he can only sail 3.5, but because we're using half table scale, he's only going to move, so he was here at the edge of the table, he's going to move 1 3/4 of an inch, and that's going to be it for the British sailing. Then we flip these over. The blue ships get to fire. 12 inches is the maximum range for any vessel on the table. Normally it's 24 if you have a real size table. Since I'm gaming in a tiny space, I don't. Blue repair means the French can fix their ships, which are not damaged. Doesn't really matter. I could probably take those out, but it's easier just to leave them in. Now, finally, the French get to sail. And in both cases, they're going to be moving at full sail, which is 11 inches per turn, or on my table, 6.5. And when they're done, the table will look a little something like this. So 6.5 straight ahead for the Ceylon. The Venus is going to immediately make that turn to the south and try to get away. I think the idea here is the British are going to try to take a raking shot passing by this guy and then go in full pursuit of the Venus. Remember, the Venus was a British ship that got captured, so the British would love to recapture this vessel. And then the last thing, of course, is the red firing. But the British not only, so this is what our firing arcs look like. Not only are they out of range, but you drop this next to your vessel and you measure from center mast to center mast. And this is what that firing arc looks like. So coming out a little something like that. I'm going to go ahead and mix these up just a little bit more so you guys can see that I'm trying to be honest. Lay them out and let's see who goes first. The blue repair. And then blue fires. Again, the French do not have any shots. And then the French are going to get another opportunity to sail. In order to keep all these ships on the table, I may slide them around a little bit. Remember, the whole table can move. We've got the whole ocean to play with here. So once again, we're going to bring the Ceylon 6.5 inches straight forward. And then we'll bring the Venus 6.5 inches straight forward as well. The only thing I have to worry about with moving the table around is I just got to remember I got to keep moving it this direction, right? The ships might move that way and the shore might drop off. But as you can see, we're already beginning to open up some space. And the random order that these happen in is going to be really important because they've already fired while they don't have the range yet. They're still at maximum range. The British, of course, don't have a shot, but they do have the opportunity to sail. They are going to increase speed. They're never going to catch these French moving so slowly. They needed to wait for the French to commit themselves. And now that they have, they can set full sail and they will be able to sail 6.5 inches. Now, this is where I want to take my time and really show you how turning works in this. I won't show you every turn just to kind of save ourselves a little time in the video, but let's zoom in on the Sirius. When you turn, this little cutout here shows the maximum extent of your turn. It's a 30 degrees. So if I put my vessel here, I put it right on the back of the base, then I can pivot up to the limit of that little notch. Now, I don't want to turn just yet. There's one other thing you need to be aware of. If you are turning with the wind is pushing you around, you can turn 3 points. I can do that 3 times anywhere in my turn. If you are turning into the wind, working against it, you can only turn twice. I hope that makes sense. So we'll move up 2 inches. So let's move up 3 inches altogether. And then we drop our little turn template down. And we say we're going to turn 30 degrees. I also, just to maintain some semblance of realism here, so that was 3 inches. And we'll measure from back to back. That's 4, 5. And then we'll put that second turn like so. And then we have 1 more 1.5 inches. So there's our 1.5 inches. And we put this little turn template down on the back of the ship, and he's going to turn a little something like this. Oh, you know what, though? God, I almost forgot. He can only move half his distance, so we got to go back to... He can still turn 90 degrees. Oh, boy. All right. Let's reset. So remember, he moved 1 3/4 inches. He was right about there. Well, no, we can set this down. He was right about there, right? We measured 12 inches. So by going up to 11, he's only going to be able to move 6.5, but because he is facing into the wind, he's really only going to be able to move 3. So instead, what we're going to have to do here is move him 1 inch. We'll bring this back and we'll move him 1 inch and we'll do the other turn. That's turn number 2. And then we can move him 1 more inch. And I think that's it. I think we're happy with the turning, and he's got a 1/2 inch left to go. And the nice thing about that is we know that the last chip to turn over is repair. So if we had gone, so that was the order of operations on the second turn, firing and then sailing. Would have been better to have sailing and then firing because the British might have been able to open the cannon ports and really have some fun. As it is, the initiative order just didn't play to the British strengths. Everybody, including the harbor mouth, has been pushed 4 inches away from the camera to give ourselves a little bit more table space to play with. Dropping these down generally at random means we're going to have the red repair, and now the British do get to open fire, and the distance between these two ships is going to be very extreme. The game uses 3-inch range bands out between 9 and 12. For every shot you take, you only hit on a 6. The next one in, you hit on 5s and 6s, then 4 up, and then 3 up is pretty much the best you can do. There are a couple of little modifiers to that. We could check those real quick. Oddly enough, I can't find anywhere in the book that it says that the firing under full sail is a penalty. It just says heavy seas, gunner killed, which is some damage you can take, carronades, and targeting sails only. That means the Sirius is going to open firing. They've got, see, the vessel is moving in this direction, so we're looking at their port broadside, is going to fire all 3 guns. I rolled 3 dice. I'm only hitting on 6s. 4, 4, and a 2 means those are all misses, but it was worth a shot. The French now get to sail, and once again, 6.5 inches. The Venus is going to keep on trucking right off the camera. They're not off the table yet. See, there they are right there's the edge of the ocean. So we may need to start separating things out a little bit more. It looks like they may get a clean getaway. We'll see. The British are now going to be moving at 6.5 inches as well. They may take off in hot pursuit of that vessel. This French ship now says, hey, I can turn up to 3 times. And I'll put this down. You know, one thing I should point out here, the edge, if I was really smart, I would have made the edge of this 2 inches just to make measuring easier. Because they're still with the wind at their back, we're going to move them up 2 inches. And then we're going to give them an opportunity to turn. We're going to move them up 2 more inches. And we're going to give them another opportunity to turn. That's their second turn. And then we're going to move up 2 more inches. We want to stay like this so they still have that we're going to leave them just inside. Remember, if they are parallel with the edge of the table, they still move at that full speed. Once they tilt a little bit beyond the horizontal as we look at it, they're only going to be moving at 3/4 speed. So we'll leave them just a little bit up, and then they have that extra 1/2 inch of movement. And that's where the French will stop, which is going to be great because, they had a chance. Now the British are going to be able to move 6.5 inches. They're going to come 6 inches here, and then we'll tilt them just a little bit. Actually, they're going to stop right here. And this is where we're going to turn just a little bit. Again, trying to take advantage of as much of that wind as possible. And they're going to sail on down like that. Then blue repair and blue firing. Now, here's our firing arc. And did the British escape from retribution? They did not. That's what our firing arc looks like. As you can see, they are within that firing arc. And this time, it's going to be the Venus. Again, they've got 3 guns on their port side. The range for the Venus is only going to be 8 inches, which means they'll be hitting on 5s. And with a 1, 2, and a 2, they are going to get nothing. That wonderful French gunnery really paid off once again. Our random turn order will look something like that. And we'll start with the red sailing. So the British are going to get to close in 6.5 inches. And we'll, you know what, we're gonna turn them a little bit. They're going to wind up somewhere right about here. And I guess we don't need to see that harbor mouth anymore, do we? Then the British get a chance to fire. Are they within the firing arc? We drop that template down. We measure with our ruler. And no, the French are just a little bit too far forward. And now the French are going to sail. So what's going to happen here? Well, the first thing that's going to happen is the Ceylon is going to... do we want to take them back into the harbor, or do we want to sail them up around the island? We have to think. Now, this is what's great about your average campaign game. You have to think about what's the next order of operations. Finally out of port, the Ceylon may decide, hey, you know what? We could probably come over here and take on the Raisonnable. Maybe what we do is we bring, if they can both get away, I think we're going to send the Ceylon around this way. And at this point, the British are going to be too far astern. They'll never catch them. And part of the reason I'm doing that also is, remember, they're going to be moving at 6 inches due north. So they can come up around the island of La Réunion. And I think we just say, yeah, they get away. They move into the campaign turn, which means we're left with these two vessels down here. This vessel, of course, is going to be sailing 6.5 inches, but I've only got 4 inches on the table. So we'll do the exact same thing. These are going to disappear off the edge of the map as we move out of the way. And so with the other ship gone, we can say, move this 10 inches. And then we move this vessel. You guys stay in the right order there. 10 inches due north. And then the French can finally sail. And they'll be sailing the 6.5 inches. And that's where they wind up. So then red repair, blue firing, blue repair. And there isn't going to be any firing going on. In fact, again, I think this is it for this phase of the game. I think we have to kick on over because you've got yourselves in a situation where with this effectively 24 inches between them, we're just going to have that alternation where the British come up and then the French run away. And the British come up. We have exited from the tactical and we've moved back into the strategic part of our miniature war game. Now, as you can see, the port is fairly near the point. So it's not going to be long before the Venus has to make that turn to the south. And so this makes things very interesting for the next episode because we're going to have to, and let me just write this down so we can see exactly what's going on here. The Venus escapes down here. And the Sirius is in pursuit of the Venus, where the Ceylon is going to sail on like this. See that? So the French and the British, if they cross paths with these vessels down here, then we have the makings of a rather complicated and convoluted battle. So this could get really interesting. Likewise, the French have two chances to interrupt this convoy because the Ceylon is coming down this direction. Now, I guess we've got time. I can show you. My thinking here is that this path was the convoy for the Méride, the Creole, two of the transports plus a couple of cargo vessels. I thought, hey, you know what? The Méride has been in port most recently. We got to start swapping these guys out. They got to be running low on supplies, ready for a break. So the Méride is actually going to go up here to the Boetica and take over blockading the port of Mahébourg. So the Boetica can come along this way. Once we get to about here, they feel safe. You guys go on ahead without me. I'm going to have the Boetica rendezvous with you over here at Rodrigues. And then in late January, the Boetica, having been resupplied, had a week off. You know, the guys got to get their legs wet. Excuse me, they got their sea legs. They got their legs dry. It's probably a whole different part of their anatomy they got wet, if you know what I'm talking about. I'm whores. I'm talking about the whores. And then the Boetica can come back and spell the Raisonnable, which will go back, and then they can finally... Well, the Sirius isn't going to be there anymore, is it?
So that will be 1810, which is what we're moving into. But first, we got to get through these odd little turns of and twists of fate on the Big Blue Wet Thing. Tune in next time for more of the strategic and the strategic turns. And I'll just throw this out there: if you guys want to engage in some of this strategic fun, and why wouldn't you? The rules that you're looking for are Heart of Oak. And it will give you all the movement rates and like upwind, downwind, where you're talking about the great big ships of the line or the fat roly-poly cargo vessels. We put it all together and we have some interesting, maybe we have another interesting tabletop battle. This was pretty simple, but we just did the opening turn in a much grander game. That's what it's all about, guys. Till next time, I'm praying for you.